Hey guys, so the manifestation mailbag at gmail.com got a couple of interesting emails yesterday, and I'm not going to read them. Every email I've gotten so far has been pretty long, but one of them was asked some questions about self-concept that I really want to talk about. I know I've talked about this here before, but it's been a long time, and nobody can find my videos, and why do I feel like I have to say this every time I repeat a concept? The question, the general gist of the question was, why is it that I still, even after I've changed all this stuff and like my outer world has changed, why is it that I still feel like a man can't really love me? Or why is it that, why is it that after I've changed all of this stuff, I'm still keeping myself in a state of not having a lot of success or not having a lot of money? The email was about the love thing, but I mean, I feel like these are where this shows up the most. It's in these areas of these like really broad things like love and money and stuff like that. And so I wanted to talk about that because you see a lot of stuff about changing your self-concept. Specifically, there are a lot of videos about affirmations and sort of like trying to beat a new concept into your psychology. Like telling yourself over and over that you are something that you don't feel like you currently are. And there are a lot of ways to the same place. So I'm not going to knock those things, but I think that they are kind of in violation of the very base level truth about this stuff. Okay, and here's the very base level truth. This is like a hack if you can accept this, it will change things, okay? There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing that you have to change. Nothing. You don't have to be any different than you are. You were born perfect. You were a blank slate, and everything that you think about yourself has been added on. You don't have to hammer into your head, I am beautiful, I am beautiful. You just have to remove all of the things that got put on top of you knowing that, of you, feeling that. So, this is why culture is not your friend, and your family, the people that raised you, whoever was most influential in your life, they were doing the best they could, subjected to the exact same, maybe not the exact same cultural, whatever, whatever was there influencing them in their time might not be the same as what was influencing you in your time, but culture had as big of an impact on them as it did on you. And so I think the idea that, the changing self-concept thing, the idea of how to go about that should be shifted from I need to build something to I need to break something down. Like all these ideas that you have, think how many, you have so many decisions that you've made. You have so many beliefs. I'm not saying this is easy to do, but rather than trying to tell yourself that you're lovable, I think it makes more sense to say, where did I come up with the idea that I wasn't? Did I do something and then I decided that means I'm not lovable? Did I decide in my childhood somewhere that something I did meant something? Have you looked at that? Have you even as an adult revisited the things that you consider to be like formative events as a child? Because I'll tell you what, it's been a long time probably since you were a kid, and your perspective has almost certainly infinitely shifted. So you might want to look back at these things. What I would do is just think of the memories that you have that pop up. I think I said this recently somewhere. If you have if you have like these memories, when you think, tell me a memory from your childhood, why do you have that memory? You know what I mean? Like you had all these days and experiences as a child, but you probably have a handful of things that you would recount if somebody said, tell me a childhood memory. Go, No thinking about it. Just go. Tell me your childhood memory. There's the first one. Whatever the one that comes up if somebody's like, go, no time to think about it. Go. There's something that you decided. There's something you learned. There's something that shaped you in that event. And it is beneficial to look at that and try to figure out what it was. And look at it from an adult perspective and realize how unreliable your memory is. I was just watching something yesterday, or listening to something where, God, what was this? I don't know. Somebody was talking about how the human memory is really, unreliable. And I think they were talking about the New Orleans attack that just happened, and how they will have like people write in their own handwriting like a whole bunch of details about whatever experience they just had. And then a couple weeks later, the people will look at what they wrote and they'll say, I didn't say this. I didn't write this. It's like you come away from an experience and the details fade quickly, especially if it wasn't a good thing. And you're left with just sort of an impression. You're left with some ideas that you came away from it with. And you forget all these other details. And so it just becomes this thing. Now add like 20, 30, 40, 50 years of time in between that event and you. And it's like it's a dream. So when you look at this, is I think why Neville Goddard is such a big revision person. He said if he could have one manifesting tool, it would be revision. It's because the experience of life tends to just morph things from the past. And so like everything that your whole self-concept right now, it's just a big dream. It's all based on all these things that you don't even really remember. It's like you formed a solid part of your foundation from these events, and it feels really real, Like I'll tell you, like I have one that I still to this day, like this is one that I still can't get rid of. It's a part of like, my central theme. But like I can't imagine being totally and fully loved by a man without being in certain physical condition that I have been in before and that I, feel like I could attain in the future. I'm not there right now. Every time I hear of a love story, you know what I mean? I look at the woman, I'm like, but she's like perfect. Of course he could love her like that. She is like perfect. I feel like that's what I see. Those are the things that stand out to me. I'm sure there are plenty of love stories with, like Shrek and Fiona. And I know it's like intellectually, I know that that's wrong. But I know that this need for perfection is wrong. I know that that's not reality. There's too many examples out there. But yet it's like this persistent feeling that I could never be that. And so therefore I could never have that experience. And it's weird. It doesn't like bother me all that much to have that. But, obviously it certainly affects the relationship I'm in. You know what I mean? Certainly. Because, what does that tell you? I don't believe that my significant other really fully loves me because I'm not in the physical shape I was in when we met. So that's obviously influencing things. I don't really know how exactly, but I know it would have to be different if that were different. The relationship was different when I felt differently about this. It's kind of missing a sort of sparkly element that was there that just could not continue because I lost it. I lost that feeling about myself. And it's because there's this rule in my mind, this belief. And I still, so that's one of the just to give you an example. that is one of the, I've got a handful of these left, and that is one of the ones that is going to come under the microscope at some point, I think. I don't really know why I think that. You know, a man certainly doesn't, in my mind, a man certainly doesn't have to be perfect in any way to, you know, to have the feeling. For me personally, a man doesn't have to be that perfect for me to have the feeling about him that I'm imagining having to be perfect to receive from someone. Anyway, when you have those, you can often just trace them back. They're not usually this hard, I don't think, you know, but sometimes you have to manifest being shown what they are. I've had to do that, and it's happened, and it's amazing. So I guess I just kind of vocalized, this is good. I just kind of vocalized and solidified that one for myself, and I'll update you when it inevitably now reveals its source and falsity in a way that I can actually embrace and feel. Because you can know, I already know it's false. Intellectually, I have all of the evidence that I would need, you know what I mean? People have loved other people all throughout history, and humans are highly imperfect. And I know that's not true, but it's just like this, it's still there. That feeling of it is still there. This is why language is such a farce, you know? You can understand something, you can understand a concept, and for me, understanding a concept is basically intellectually knowing it, and I could explain it to you, I could articulate it to you. But knowing it is different. It's a feeling in your body. It's an energy that shifts in a way that makes you able to, you know, start to create differently in the outer world. You know, you're always operating from what you think is true, or what you feel is true, I guess I should say. You're always operating from truth, your truth, whatever that is. So with the self-concept thing, I'll just keep going on that because that was kind of a long tangent, a long personal tangent. I don't know if any of you really wanted to know any of that, but you do. The way that you really change things, that things really shift and shift really quickly, is by understanding and feeling that something that you're believing is false. For me, I had a huge one of these right before I started this channel, like 3 months before I started this channel. I had an idea about myself that I was kind of a bad person based on my childhood experiences. I had just sort of rationally assessed, well, I wasn't a very good kid. And my father, who I was like the coolest guy, you know, and I loved him to death and everything, and literally loved him to death. He's dead. I loved him through his death at the end of 2020. But he took off from my family when I was 12 years old, and I really internalized that, and I didn't realize it until I was like 40. To me, it was just a fact that he couldn't stand to be around me, and he did kind of act like that. He complained a lot about my behavior. We didn't interact all that much, and I would say a large chunk of the interaction was disapproving. And so I just kind of took that as the truth. You know, when you have a parent, especially one that you love, you think is awesome, you know, if they think something negative about you or express something negative to you, you're probably going to agree with that and take it in, and it's going to start to become you. And I can't be a fly on the wall for my childhood interactions with my dad and my brother, which was the big complaint. My brother and I used to fight all the time. He just couldn't stand that, you know, and he couldn't stand his life, and so he left. And I didn't realize it, but because I didn't think of myself as blaming myself for that outwardly, you know, but it's like I justified it. With, you know, when I would think about that, I would be like, well, he was, you know, he had to leave because we were just like awful. And you know what I mean? Which is blaming yourself. I just never looked at it that way. So at some point, you know, I don't want to go into the whole story. I'm going to make playlists on this channel because I just don't want to keep saying the same things over and over again. But I've made a couple of long videos about this in the first year that I had this channel. And I went way into this. But basically, I realized, sort of through dumb luck, that my blaming myself for that was causing like all of my relationship problems, because you know, it made me feel like there was sort of a rotten core. And rationally, I accepted that. I just said, well, okay, there's a rotten core in here, but I've been able to make good with it. Like, I have made myself the best person I can be. I'm a pretty good person. I'm doing pretty good things with my life. You know, I have good relationships. I do good things I took care of my mom when she had cancer, more than my brother did anyway. You know, I just like, you know, I'm just like, I'm making good with this rotten core. It didn't start out good, but I'm turning it into the best rotten core it can be. And like, literally, that was not subconscious. That was my view of myself. And the reason I had the idea that I had this rotten core was because I said to myself at some point, you were such a little shit, which I wasn't, by the way. You were such a little shit that even your own father couldn't stand to be around you, you know? And he had to leave because you guys just weren't a family he wanted to be a part of. It's the stupidest thing in the world. My mom is awesome. She is objectively a great person. My brother is the most capable and just go out and do it person I have ever met in my life. Nothing holds that guy back. I've never met anyone else like him. I've never met anyone else in his league. They're out there, but I haven't personally ever run across anyone. The closest in those terms would be my ex, Gene. He is another person who just like can just do all these different things. And can, you know, just decides he's going to do, like, be successful with something and manages to get it done somehow. He's similar in some ways to that. My significant other also can, like, fix anything. And, you know, it's just a really attractive quality about a person. And it's amazing. And my brother is, like, the shining beacon of that type of person. And I don't know, you can decide whatever you want about me and what I am. You've been watching this channel today, at least. Anyway, it's kind of an absurd idea that we were so shitty that my dad just couldn't, you know. It's a ridiculous idea that I came up with. However, it was my absolute concrete life creating foundational belief about myself until I was 40. I managed to do a whole bunch of good stuff anyway, but it was the thing that was creating all of the relationships that didn't work, and obviously I'm still struggling with a part of that. Obviously there's still ideas in there related to that. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the idea of a man can't love a woman unless she's perfect has to do with my dad leaving my mom and the fact that she wasn't perfect. I wouldn't be, I'm going to go and I'm going to think about that right now because I think I might have just stumbled on it. You know, it's these events in childhood, as cheesy as it sounds. I'm sorry. Like, I hate being cheesy. I don't want to be cheesy. But that's where most of it comes from, or other things that happen early on. You know, when you get older and you have more experience and you give less of a shit, and you know, you've experienced more of the arc of life, and you can kind of see where it all ends up, and that it hopefully adjusts the amount of importance you put on everything. The things that happen, like at that point in your life, I don't think you put as much weight on as these things when you are young and you don't know anything and you have no experience, and the world is just not something that makes any sense to you yet. Like, you just haven't figured out the realities of things yet, whatever that means to you. It's just much more impactful when you don't have the ability to critically think about things that are happening, when you haven't had a chance to come more into your own personality and get more comfortable with yourself. Things have less of an impact on you when you kind of feel like you know who you are, and you feel like, you've adjusted yourself enough, and you're good enough, or if you're to the point where you're just not so impressionable anymore, you're not a kid. So, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Dude, I really think I just figured that out. I really think that I just figured that out by talking about my dad and my mom. That's crazy. It's where it all comes from. I don't know, for me. But so, yeah, looking back at this stuff is where a lot of the answers are. And you don't have to tell yourself these intellectual things like, of course a man can fully and wholly and passionately love a woman whose body is perfect. Duh. But it's like if you don't figure out where that thing went wrong, I don't mean to speak like absolutely, but I think many times it's coming from this experience that you had somewhere in the past. And if you just kind of let your mind wander around that experience, you'll start to notice things that don't make sense, and maybe make some mental connections and these are the things that change instantly. Like, it's almost like if you go back and explore the thing that you decided back then and the experience you were having back then, it's like the current iteration of the problem or the wrong belief or whatever just kind of like disappears, because it's just an illusion. It's just a projection of that original thing. This is why the SP people really need to go here. Like, they really need to go here, because you're going to realize how much of it's just like the feelings that you have about this specific person, the thing you're like obsessed with and focused on, it's just going to go poof. Like, and when you have that experience where something that seemed so important just like dissipates before your eyes, that's another thing that just, cements your understanding of what's really happening here. I don't know. Did that answer the question? If you're having self-concept issues, it's not about adding something. It's about removing something, I think. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but yeah, that's what I have to say about it. You have ideas that are wrong, and they need to be removed. What's underneath all of these ideas and concepts is the infinite, timeless experience of being conscious. Like, everything that's preventing you from existing there is this mental construct of the world. And so, everything outside of this timeless, infinite moment is optional. You can sit here right now. This is, meditation. You can sit here right now and remove it all, and you're not even here anymore. So what does that tell you about the importance of all these ideas? Anyway, okay, that's all I've got to say about that, and I hope that helped someone. I hope that helped the emailer. Thank you. By the way, emailer, I absolutely love your name. It's a name I've never heard before. It's a beautiful name. Have a great day.